Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first $1 million in real estate. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals, hey, welcome to the show, Super Agents Live. Now, what we do on the show, if you're new, hey, welcome. I'm glad you found it. What we do on this show is we talk to top producing real estate agents, coaches, and authors. This show is about entrepreneurship. This show is about how to grow your business. I don't care if you're a plumber, a painter, or a pie maker. The stuff that we talk about on this show will help you. Now, today's guest is a pretty interesting guest. His name is Josh Hisaw. Now, he started real estate in 2008, the worst time ever. And we talk about how and why you should build a business that is independent of the market conditions. We talk about why real estate is the best vehicle for success, why you should invest in yourself, why and how to grab yourself a unique selling proposition. Everybody should have a unique selling proposition. We talk about lead generation. We talk about marketing. We talk about minimum timeline commitments for marketing. So stay tuned. You're going to love it. Before we get there, let's hear from our sponsor. We all know the best kind of referral is one from our sphere or farm. But how do we stay top of mind? Now, most people, they take a three-pronged approach, right? They door knock on their farm, they call people, and they mail them. Most people fall down by not getting to their people, their sphere, their farm. They don't get them engaging content. And look, sure, we can list them a postcard, or we can send them an article that we think is going to be of interest to them. Our new sponsor, Discover Publications, takes that one step further. For just slightly more than the cost of a stamp, Discover Publications creates a completely customized newspaper. Now, they'll go out and they'll curate content, or you can create your own. All of my sponsors are white labeled. Now, prior to having them on the show, I called some of Discover Publications clients, and I talked to this one guy, and he does some interesting things. He'll go out and interview restaurants that are in his farm, in his sphere. He creates a write-up. He, interestingly enough, resells advertising in his own newspaper to his trusted network, whether that's the plumber or the insurance agent. And by the way, this guy has 60% market penetration. He told me the paper has cemented those numbers. If you're interested, go check out discoverpubs.com. Let me know what you think. Okay, before we get to the content, a little house cleaning that we always do. Hashtag for the show, unpack that idea. Big follow train, tweet it out. If you're not on Twitter, go get on Twitter. The last thing, coaching, we're not, you know what? I've been so heads down with radio. And by the way, if you don't know, we're putting agents on the radio. That is the silver bullet of real estate. Literally, you want another 100 transactions? I can help you with that. So if you're interested, if you're there, and look, if you want to get on, I've gotten a lot of emails about radio, and people are like, oh, hey man, put me on the radio. I want to get to 150 transactions. And I'm like, well, okay, how big's your team? They're like, it's just me. I'm like, dude, I can't do it, man. You have to have backup, baby. This is a fire hose that you're turning on. It's not a water spigot. Okay. Okay, that's it. Follow us on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. Let's get to the show. I am thrilled to welcome our guest, Josh Hisaw. Hey, Josh, thanks for taking the time out today.
Nice to be here.
Yeah. So listen, Josh, I've given the audience a little background of what you do. Take a minute, tell us a little bit about yourself and your current business.
Well, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. I work for Keller Williams, and I'm just a real estate agent. Started out probably, I guess, just like everybody else did, just a single one guy doing everything, and now I've got a team of 6. Last year we got up to 158 transactions, $25 million. Started in 2008.
Oh my God!
Pretty much, it was a long way, but
I mean,
a lot of hard work.
Oh, I bet. I mean, look, the deal is, so 08. If everybody should remember, right? But the world was melting. September 08, Lehman Brothers fails, and the globe goes crazy, right? How in the world? Right. I mean, and look, and why the economy fell into the toilet was real estate. How in the world, Josh, how did you survive that? And what made you think that you should do real estate in the worst market in history?
Okay, here's what I did. Before it crashed, I had some other businesses. I was at the time also getting divorced, so we were liquidating all our businesses, selling everything. So when we did, I was going to move into real estate. The reason I chose real estate is it seemed to be the best business on the planet other than stockbroker, and the barrier of entry to real estate was almost nothing. Very easy, and you didn't have to carry inventory. You could make all your initial investment back basically in one sale. I said, I'm doing that. But before I jumped in and did it, I looked around. I wanted to see who were the all-stars, and I bought some courses from people. I didn't have a license, and just, it was like the Craig Proctor stuff. Jeff Willems had some things out there at the time, a long time ago, and I bought them, and I just studied them before I'd ever sold anything. So I went in knowing what I wanted to do with a plan. Started out great, but the market did fall apart very fast. It's like somebody turned the lights out.
Yeah.
Here in the fourth quarter of 2008. It was like somebody turned the lights out. So what I did is I entered the market with a unique selling proposition that was, I'll sell your home in 45 days or less, or I'll make your mortgage payment until it's sold. Was getting a lot of listings. Things were going great. And like I said, the market fell apart. So what started happening then is I started getting a lot of calls. This was right before the short sales went crazy, and I couldn't help anybody. There was just no equity position there whatsoever. So instead of turning all those people down, it only took a few of those for me to realize that I needed to get all the way in on the short sale side of the business for the next foreseeable future until this thing cleared up, because the regular equity sellers seemed to have disappeared. So that's what we did. We got very heavy on the short sale side for, the next, till it cleaned up about 2 years ago.
Interesting. So first of all, right, people have, I've heard of the, if I don't sell your home, I'll buy it. I've heard, there's another one. There's, if you don't love your house, I'll sell it for free. Like if you represent them.
All right, love it or leave it.
Love
sure.
it or leave it. Yeah, love it or leave it. I've never heard. This is the first time I've heard the 40. I'll sell your house. I'm looking at it on your website right now. And by the way, for everybody, Josh's website is Hisaw, HISAW.com. 45-day guarantee sale program, or you'll make their mortgage payment. Now, did you that you started with that? It certainly didn't work at that time because nobody had equity. You're still carrying this flag, so it still works today, right?
Well, it works fantastic. Actually, it worked better then than it does now. And that guarantee worked. It was incredible. Still works today. I'm going to keep that guarantee forever. What are you asking me? How it really works?
No. Yeah, no. I just wanted to.
Okay.
So listen. Here's again. I wanted to bring out a couple things. Number one, this is a unique. This is your unique selling proposition. It's unique. I've never heard it, so I love it. I want to know even if somebody comes up with something like this. Let's say somebody wanted to try this. You're in Tennessee. Somebody's in San Diego, and they go, "That Josh guy's a smart guy." You can come up with that, but how are you getting that out there? I mean, you're putting this on billboards. Are you doing radio commercials? How are you letting the world know that you're offering this?
Well, okay. In the beginning, when I first started, and I ripped this off. I want to give credit to who I know where I ripped it off. Ripped it off of a guy named George Philbeck in Orlando. But and I was doing exactly what I heard him say how he started with it, but. He took it and he went to expireds. So it was a very targeted. You knew that they wanted to sell, and that's how I started without spending a ton of money. So it was just direct mail, targeted to everybody who was an expired. They just failed to sell. Or for sale by owner, if there were any left. Really, those kind of dried up as well. So that's who I went after initially because it was very cost effective. It was basically a postcard and a stamp.
Just doing a postcard,
and I could hit them over and over.
So you didn't use like a land voice data and call those guys and say, hey, listen, I'm Josh, and this is why I can sell your house?
No, not at all. And on those, I was getting around a 1% to 2% return. So it was great. I mean, on one that would sell. So for about every 100 listings that would expire, I'd sell one or two of them as a sold.
So again, So you tried this, but we're going back to '08, where you tried this, you realized it wasn't working, and then you got on the short sale side of it. What did you do? What did you do to do that? Because look, there's lots of people. You're a Keller Williams guy, a guy like a Leo Perea, right? Or even Pat Hyben. We were talking about them before the show. Those are guys that landed on short sales or REOs, and all of a sudden, because they did, like, their business went crazy, and then when that went away, their business went away as well. How did you end up migrating to that, and then how did you start to migrate out of it? I mean, did you see it coming that you needed to get out of it, or again, did it just the lights get shut off and you course correct?
No. It's something I hated from the very beginning, and I didn't want anything to do with it. So I hired somebody to process. This was probably the smartest thing I did at the time, was I hired some help. And the help was there to only process the short sale. So it allowed me to just still go get the listing just like normal, and then I was out. And then I would have that guy call and pick up the short sale paperwork. I never heard from him again until we were back into escrow normal. I didn't mess with any of that. So that was probably the smartest thing I ever did. But after that, you could see over time that they were getting harder and harder to close. And the bailout money was drying up. So, we'd done a lot of that, and because we had a lot of short sales, we had a ton of buyers because they all wanted the short sales. So we had a big, heavy buyer side. Kind of started to drop a little bit, but then we hopped on to direct mail is, I guess you could say, what got us to the dance, and we still do that today. But then we wanted to take it one step further because we were doing so much direct mail at this point that we started to look into doing radio. So now we do radio, and I do that. I do that on, I believe, 5 stations now. But it's the same, same deal, same as the postcard. It's just in spoken word than rather getting it in the mail, and we're able to reach a lot of people with that. So now we're doing both. Interesting.
Josh, I'm going to put you on hold for 1 second, and I'm going to come back. I want to hear about radio, but give me 2 seconds. I need to shut a door here to the studio.
Okay.
Thanks, Josh. Hey, so we're back. So interesting. So you got into. Did you say you were on 45 stations?
No. 5.
5 stations.
We're on 5 stations. Yes, we're doing it on 5 stations now.
That is AM or FM or both?
AM. I'm sorry, FM. FM. They're on the morning talk shows. We're part of the program. They're live reads with the morning DJ during drive time traffic.
Now, and real quick, so is this are you part of the rate crew?
Yes, I am.
Got it. Okay, I did not know that. All right. Well, let's talk about radio for a second. And I've had a lot of folks lately come on that do radio, and radio is amazing. What percentage of your business comes from radio?
Right now I'd say probably 80%.
Oh my. So you're never.
The radio's amazing.
Yeah, you're never going to stop your 45-day guarantee, and you're probably never going to stop radio.
Correct.
How so 80% of your business, again, amazing. So people call you. Radio does some interesting things, right? Number one, you are set up as an expert. The market expert. Right? They know you, they like you, and they trust you because you have to be trustworthy if you're on the radio. But you said you have a small team. I mean, how come you're not having 20 people? I mean, it seems like.
Well, we're just getting started with it. We did a lot of short sales before, and that's really just dried up about a year and a half ago. So we're just building this side of it up really from scratch because it was so much short sale business. I'm moving slower than I think I should, and I think that's probably because I'm awful at managing people and hiring people. But we can't process all the business that we have. We really can't.
Interesting, man. Well, look, I mean, I think one thing that I love, when guys like you come on the show, Josh, I love that you're a true entrepreneur, right? You got into real estate in a terrible market. You weren't afraid to take risks. I mean, certainly radio, throwing out those dollars and not knowing whether you can handle the volume or if it's going to pay off. Where else have you invested in your business or yourself that's worked for you where other people just don't seem to do it?
Coaching.
Yeah.
I would say coaching is huge. Just That's probably the biggest.
Yeah.
Going to seminars, paying for coaching, buying books, just anything, just
You know what?
as much as you can. It changes your mindset. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's really the most important thing.
I totally agree. And look, here's the thing. You can look at any brokerage, right? You can look at any company, and there's three groups of people. You have the top 20%, which all those guys, gals, they're killing it. You have the middle 60%, and that 60%, they're holding their own, right? And then you have the bottom 20% that are basically just taking up space. If you look at
You
that,
don't know how they eat.
right, and if
You don't know how they eat.
right, exactly right. And if you look at that, the bottom 20 versus the top 20, top 20, they all have coaches. Bottom 20, none of them do. You've been around the block. You see people, you hire people. Why is it that people can't see the forest for the trees and they will not invest in themselves?
Ooh, I have no idea why that is. But that is the one thing they should start with.
Yeah.
That's where I started. Before I ever had a license, I was buying stuff. I was looking at who I thought at the time was, selling the most or knew the most, and if they had something for sale, I bought it.
Right.
And I didn't have a license.
Right.
So I was able to enter the market. I think that was a big advantage, or able to enter, having a real estate license, enter that new career with a plan rather than,
Right.
well, I've got a license and I'll call some people or do what the office. I mean, I knew I was coming in with the 45-day. I came in from day one knowing I wouldn't work with a buyer. People thought I was crazy at that time. I would not work with a buyer. From day one, I would just refer them out for a 25% referral to somebody at the office because they manipulated way too much time.
Yeah. See, but you have to be deliberate, right? So a guy like you are deliberate. Now, the other people are like, I actually have some people that come to me for coaching, and when I see people go, they focus their business on the buyer side. I'm like, why are you doing that? And it's here's what I see, Josh. People feel like they're working. They feel like if I'm doing something, even if they know it's not super productive, they feel satisfied with themselves because they're like, I'm working. It's amazing to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff you can do in this industry to keep yourself busy, but it's not dollar productive. Really, the only thing you can do to make money is sign listing agreements and sign purchase and sell agreements. Anything other than that, you can delegate the rest, except for the marketing. I would never delegate the marketing. I always want the leads coming to me because that's what will have the people working for me. Because if they knew how to generate the leads, they don't need me.
Right.
So that's the one thing that I bring to the table that'll allow me to keep people working for me. And they're great people, but everything else you can delegate out. You can delegate somebody to go to the home inspection it doesn't matter what it's termite letters or whatever it is.
Right.
They can do that, but it's not going to make you any money, and you'll just spin your wheels. I don't know. I think that you also get in a cycle of you're busy doing it, and you have no closings, and then you get a few escrows, and then people will babysit those escrows, doing all the things that are non-dollar productive, and they get a check, and then they're right back at the beginning with no open escrows. So now they got to get back to, hustling the business back up, and all of a sudden they think that it's a fantastic market, and then it's an awful market, and it's a fantastic market, and it's an awful market 7 or 8 times a year. And it's like, if they just kept doing the very thing that got them the business, they would always have closings, but they stop the thing that gets them the business, whatever it is, whatever their thing is, to go babysit an escrow or to go and drive that buyer around. Let someone else drive the buyer around.
Right.
Even if you want to do the presentation and write the contract, you could still have someone drive them around, bring them back to the office to write the contract, however you wanted to do it. But
I totally agree. I mean, it's that porpoising effect, man. So in speaking of, I want to talk a little bit about the industry and the hurdles that real estate entrepreneurs have to overcome to be successful. But let's stick on marketing for a second. So you're still doing direct mail. Radio is a huge portion of your business. Where else do you see in 2014 that what other marketing is working out there, either for you or that you see other people doing?
Calling expireds and FSBOs.
Yeah.
Actually getting back to, we're seeing for sale by owners, they're starting to pop back up now. They've been gone for a while. They started coming back up. So I've got somebody making those calls, and actually talking to them now. And that's huge. We also use Boomtown platform. So I've got, an ISA doing that as well. Calling on the buyer side.
Yep.
To set those appointments, and we can find some sellers in there.
Yeah. I've had Allison on the show. So look, here's in terms of real estate entrepreneurs struggling, right? There's a lot of hurdles. There's a lot of growth that you have to be successful. What do you think the one biggest thing that most agents, when they get into this industry, struggle with that maybe you can help them change their mindset or overcome? That's a crazy question.
Yeah, that is.
I didn't mean it
well,
to
but first of all, they have to make up their mind to do a certain amount of business, and you can just hustle it up. I mean, you can hustle up business. You could do 50, 60 deals by yourself. You could hustle that up. And once you cross that barrier, don't try and do it by yourself, or you're just begging for a headache. But you can do it through expireds, FSBOs. I mean, you can call, direct mail. I'd say one thing is you need to have a plan, and you need to stick to the plan, and it needs to be consistent. Just not these random acts of marketing. Like,
right.
I don't have any business today, I'm going to send out a postcard. It's just random act of marketing. It's not a system. It's not put everything on a system with a plan and follow it. One thing that we do is we give everything. If we start anything, it has a minimum, no matter what, of 6-month commitment, full force before we say it works or doesn't work. 6 months minimum. Because sometimes it doesn't. It takes 3 or 4 months before you see anything out of it. But once it starts coming, you're like, wow, it would have been crazy to quit that. So give it time. Come up with a unique selling proposition, whatever that is for your market. But you have to have it. People have to see a value in you other than, hey, they sell real estate. Well, who cares? Everybody sells real estate. Why use you? And until you can answer that question very quickly, you'll be battling just the same people. You'll be battling the same 20% at the bottom of the office.
Right.
For those few morsels that are left, and you'll also find yourself without a unique selling proposition. You'll also find yourself working with people, or I did, working with people that you don't want to work with. So it's easy when you have lots of customers, you don't have to work with the ones you don't like. You don't have to work with the guy who's, hard to deal with. And I see agents all the time through the office. They're working with that guy, or this guy's giving them a hard time. And all you have to do is say their name, and it'll put them in a bad mood. They don't even have to come to the office to say their name. Like, oh, no. It's like, but you can get rid of those customers, and you don't have to deal with them, so it'll keep you in a better mindset, because you're only dealing with the nice people, the people that look at you as a professional. Right. They'll take your advice, buy the house, wonderful closing, great. And you can do more deals with dealing with those kind of people.
Yeah,
and that's what the proper marketing will do for you.
I agree with that for sure, man. Too many times, and it's that the bottom 20 are so desperate that they work with people that they don't like, they don't enjoy. They get a phone call from that person and they get into cold sweats because it's like being in the war, like post-traumatic stress syndrome, and they just put them, and then they hate their life. Whereas, so I want on your direct mails, I had a guy, a really smart guy, Sharon Stravatza, on the show recently, and what Sharon did or does with his mailings, he will have he does all his mailings in campaigns, right? So he might start to send postcards with 7 reasons now's a great time to sell your house, and then that campaign, right, 7 reasons, will have 7 different mailers all on that same thing, and then by the time that the person gets to the 7th, they're like, oh yeah, I should sell my house. Do you do your mailers in campaigns like that, or?
No, and that's the next thing that I'll probably will do. And the only reason I haven't is, and that's a wonderful way, by the way, to do it. It's just I haven't put it together. I go straight postcards because I know they're seen. There's nothing fancy about them, and I just mail them out in repetition. What he's doing is actually more. It's great lead generation because they may not be thinking about it right now, but they may want to know the 7 reasons. They'll raise their hand, and it gives them a reason to follow up with them for the long haul.
Right.
Which is wonderful. So he's generating leads, not the people that actually. My business in the beginning was targeted to, because I was getting divorced and all that, we had liquidated everything. It was kind of like I was starting over. So I was after the now business, not so much the generating of the leads to build a farm business. No, that's why I was going after the expireds, the for sale by owners. I knew they wanted to sell. I knew their address. I'm going after them now because I needed money now. Yeah. I didn't have time to wait. Now the smarter way to do it is what he's doing, because you can get far more people. You're not talking about selling something, so to speak. I can give you this information, follow up with them over the time, and then they'll end up doing something with you. Maybe a year down the road, but you're building a pipeline that once it starts coming in, it's tremendous. It's a blessing when it does.
Right. I agree.
That's the smartest way.
Let me break in here with a message from our sponsor. Our sponsor, Discover Publications, will create a customized, branded, 12-page newspaper that will be sent out to your farm and sphere. Now, this paper is cheaper than you think. For slightly more than the cost of a stamp, you can start sending out curated content and always stay top of mind. Never lose a deal again because that prospect just happened to forget that you were in real estate or misplaced your number. Go check them out at discoverpubs.com. So let's talk about mindset for a second. I know you said that, coaching is important to you. Coaching, it really helps with your mindset. And listen, real estate is a business of rejection, right? It's a business of no's. And we all have those days or weeks or months where we feel we got kicked in the gut. We wake up and we're like, man, I don't know if I can do this again. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever felt like you wanted to quit? And how did you push through that roadblock and find success?
Whew, yeah, I wanted to quit. Lots. Yeah, in the beginning, of course, I wanted to quit until you get a foothold and start making some progress. But it's like once you find your niche, you get everything running right, you'll start to have fun, and you can kind of look at people in the office. You can tell who's doing well because life is like a game. The people that are having fun, they're probably doing very well at work. But all of a sudden, if it turns south, their job will take on a seriousness to it right away. Things get real serious real fast.
Yeah.
So you can and it's not fun anymore. So when things aren't fun, you don't like to do them. So I would say keeping it fun is important. So working with the people that you like, doing that kind of business that you like. If you like working condos, only work condos. Don't do the, whatever. Like, I don't like working luxury properties. I don't want to work with those people. I like regular, meat and potato, middle of the road people who just want to buy and sell a house. That's my customer. That's my niche. I don't go after the luxury market. Don't care about it. And some people would say I'm crazy, but it's just where I just like it. They're easy folks to deal with. They're more down, and that's what I like. So that's why I work with them.
Yeah.
Not that we don't take the big listings if we get them, but we don't go after them.
Huh.
But we'll take them, and we do have them. But it's not the core part of my business.
Interesting.
It's not what I'm after.
Yeah, that's again, Josh. That's pretty interesting because most people like that's where they want to be, right? And I don't know if well, look, I mean, everybody watches $1 Million Listing or Selling LA or whatever those Bravo shows are, and they want to do celebrity deals. They want to do that $20 million house.
Sure.
It's interesting.
I'd rather have the regular $200,000 house that's going to sell. I could list it on a Friday, have it sold on a Monday.
Right.
I'd rather have 5 of those than $1 million house, just for simple reasons of, if I've got one of those guys who's giving me trouble on the $200,000 house, I can fire him. I mean, we fired people a lot. We don't let it get to us. If they're a problem, we let them go. And then we feel great. Like, okay, great. Now I still have $800,000 worth of that inventory to sell. To whereas if you've got the $1 million house, you have that one house.
Yeah.
If something falls apart, you've got a problem.
Yep.
But see, the other thing I think that is a big problem for agents and mindset, what kicks them in the gut, and this is the one that I hear the most, is the deal that almost happened. Almost had that deal, almost had that buyer, almost got that thing closed. And they'll dwell on that one thing that almost. And it seems to me like if you would just quit thinking about that almost, it'd just be easier just to go get another deal than it would be to dwell and think about the deal you almost had. And the other thing is when you have lots of deals, that one deal that falls apart doesn't really affect you. You don't know it. And so the other thing would be when you're getting in, know your numbers. I mean, I have about a 10 to 12% fallout rate. I know 10 to 12% of what I put into escrow is going to fall out of escrow. I know that for whatever reason. Somebody gets hit on the way to closing, the financing falls apart. It could be anything, but I know that. So there's no cause for alarm when a deal falls out of escrow. I'm not the guy at the water cooler and going, I should have had a closing today. It almost closed, but
right.
There's no cause. Then I also know how many listings I should get based on how many appointments I have. So when I get one, again, it's the same thing. There's no cause for celebration that I got the listing. We know roughly how many we're going to get. We know roughly how many of those are going to sell, and then we know roughly how many of those are going to fall out of escrow. And as long as that number, we can keep that number in line, it keeps our head straight instead of going, wow, we had a bad week, 3 fell out of escrow. Well, maybe it was a good week or a good month because only 3 fell out of escrow. Without knowing your numbers, you don't know. And most people will base their numbers or their whole business, if they sold 2 houses this week, they're having a great year.
Right.
They could have nothing sold all year long up until this week. They put 2 into escrow this week, and all of a sudden real estate has turned around. They're having a great year. And then you could talk to somebody who's sold, whatever, 20 or 30 houses so far this year, and they haven't sold anything so far this month. Now all of a sudden this has turned into a bad year for them. They just don't know the numbers, and I don't know. I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think as you're telling that story, Josh, and we were talking about mindset earlier. For you, you think differently than most agents do, right? So, and here's how I'm going to illustrate this, right? So you said, hey, it's going to fall out. That person that I don't like, I'm going to fire. And guess what? I'm just going to go get another deal. Now, you have an abundance mindset. Now, most people have a scarcity mindset. That's why they get all freaked out when a deal falls through. For that person who has that scarcity mindset, what's something they can do to turn it around and develop what you have?
Oh, I've got the best thing to tell you what to do. Go to your local board, look in your MLS, or whatever you got to do. These stats, you'll have them somewhere, no matter what market you're in. And this is one I used to use when short sales were really big, and I would hear this from sellers: nothing's selling. Like somebody was passing this information along, and sellers were believing it. Nothing's selling. So what I did is I looked in our MLS, and I would look and see how many sold. Now, this is just through the MLS. This wouldn't be a for sale by owner or a builder that sold direct or anything. Just what went through the MLS for the previous month. And the slowest month I ever found was, I forget which was the worst year here. It might have been 11 or 12. Maybe it was 2011. I forget. But it was the worst year that we ever had. And it was the slowest month, which is December. And do you know how many sold in that 1 month? Now, this is when nothing was selling. The number was 680-something houses.
Wow.
That was the worst of the worst, the worst year and the worst month. So everything else was always better than that. Nothing is selling. Now, and then you have to think with that, there's 2 sides to each of those homes.
Right. Yeah.
So whether 1,300-ish deals, there were 1,300 deals to be had just through the MLS in that December alone, and that was when nothing was selling. Go look at that. You couldn't handle even a fraction of the business that's out there. You wouldn't know what to do with it if it hit you, because when I got better at marketing, I had this happen. And you'll see it happen to some people. You will do the amount of business that you're comfortable with doing. So if all of a sudden somebody handed you 100 deals, put this in your head, 100 people wanted to buy a house from you this week, how would you think? And you knew if you qualified them and did it right, you would sell several homes. Slam dunk, you would sell them. If you did it wrong, you'd have no possible chance to have a sale. How would you act? That was the other thing that I put in my head. But so there's plenty of deals out there, and they're out there in every market. Just check your MLS stats.
Yeah.
And then how would you process it? Because if 100 people called, all the people would want all this business. But if 20 people called you and said they wanted to buy a house from you this week, most people couldn't process the business if it came to them. They wouldn't know what to do with it. So are you even prepared to handle the business that you want? So it's almost like, put that in your head first. Build the business. It doesn't cost any money to have buyer agents. They're all commission.
Right.
The admin's what's going to cost you, and the marketing. The rest of it shouldn't cost you anything to have a base skeleton team to get it started. It's not going to come pouring in like that. But if it did, could you even handle it?
Right.
So you have to have a plan for that as well, because if you can't, you'll find a way to ramp it right back down to where it was and where you're comfortable. You will always find a way to push it back down. As crazy as that sounds, but it's true. It happened to me. I was pushing it back down until I had the right people on the bus to get it up, and now we're trying to get it over where we are now. Because I've been stuck right at where I am now for really 2.5 years. Now, there's been a big change from them going from short sales to normal sales, but it's been very difficult for me to break, get past 160 houses. Like I've been at 150, 138, 155, right in that range. It's just it's a plateau for me, and I know that's because of, I'm a bad manager. I'm a bad manager.
Well, hold on. Let's go back, Josh, because you said earlier, you're going to sell the amount of houses you're comfortable with. Now, I love that was such great practical advice. Go to your MLS, and in the slowest month, you realize that there are 1,300 sides out there, right? 650 1,300 sides, and I love that, because the first thing that I thought of, right, is like, hey, certainly you can capture 10% of that, and that is 130 deals.
You couldn't handle it. Yeah, you couldn't handle it.
Right. So why do you think, because I'm sure other people, they're not stuck at 160 transactions. Maybe they're stuck at 16. Maybe they're stuck at 30. What are you going to do to get over that hump? Is it that you're not envisioning it? Because if you envision, I know you're going to manifest it. What is going to get you to that 200 transaction range?
Oh, for me? Well, I hired somebody. Oh, for them?
Well, no, for you, and I think people can.
For me, I hired a coach who does hiring, who's going to help me do hiring. His name's John Poppage. That's how I'm going to get past it now. I've been hit over the head too many times to know that I need to get some help. So I did get some help, and we're in the process of doing that now, which has been wonderful. So, but for anybody else, I mean, it's just, you've got to have a plan. Like, you're never talking anybody. Okay, out of those deals, however many there are in your MLS, 1,000, 500, it doesn't matter. However many, you didn't have to convince. And this is the other thing that's so wonderful about real estate. We don't have to convince anybody to buy or sell anything. They've already made up their mind before we ever talk to them. All we're effectively doing is convincing them to do business with us.
Yeah.
So really what you're doing is taking a deal away from somebody else's uncle who's in the business that's going to sell 3 houses this year. Right. You're really taking a deal away from him, because you're not taking it away from a top agent who's got everything. You're not. You're going to take it away from and you're probably going to do a better job with them than they were. You're doing them a favor. But why should that person use you over their cousin's best friend? And it's going to, at the end of the day, come down to a unique selling proposition, a guarantee. We let them fire at any time for any reasons, no questions asked. Does it happen? No. Maybe once or twice a year. And we don't want them anyway, because the only people that would ever fire us is somebody who's unhappy. And, well, if they're unhappy, it's because their house isn't selling.
Yeah.
That's it. So I didn't lose anything. The house isn't going to sell anyway.
Right.
I don't want them. It saved me the trouble.
Right. Totally.
But it's the truth.
It is the truth, and I love it. So let me go back. So here is, you said you're a bad manager. Now here's what a lot of people struggle with, and why they don't bring talent on, is because they have this hero syndrome, meaning that whatever it is, they have to do it because they're going to do it better than the next person. So I'm not going to hire somebody, and even if they do hire, they can't give away, they can't delegate, because they're like, I have to do that. Now, for you, Josh, certainly today with your 160 deals, 158 last year, are you going to all the listing presentations? Are you that guy, or are you able to?
No. Now that I've gotten it more together. No, I'd say in the past I didn't go. I'd go on. Now I go on probably 20% of the listing presentations.
Got it. Interesting.
But now I'm trying to manage and build a team more. I mean, I'm still involved. I'm here every day. And I'm still doing some running around, but I'm not just tied to the phone, calling the people back that called us to set the appointments, go on the listing, and do all that. I'm not doing all that anymore. I'm doing some of it, but only some of it, which to get people to do that for you is wonderful. You can do so many more deals and you will make more money. It doesn't seem like it on the surface, but you can't imagine how many deals that you have right now that are falling through the cracks, just because you can't get to them in time because you don't have enough time to do, you're running, doing the appointment, doing this and that. I mean, an appointment is something that I think is important because that's something you can change the outcome on. But the other stuff, like a closing, I've been to two closings. I've been to 2 closings since 2008. I made up my mind right from the beginning I wouldn't go to closings because I couldn't change the outcome. So I was asked to go to both of them because they were kind of, weird deal there, but
got it.
but, yeah, only two.
So does anybody, do you send, does no one go to closing? Do they just show up at title or escrow and sign, or do you send someone from your team?
No, no one goes from my team, and they're told no one will be there for the simple fact. But our escrow company, they take care of them. You know, they walk them through escrow. Once we get into escrow, we pass the ball off to them and just say, hey, it's not that I can't let go of the business. I'm just bad at managing it when I let go. But this was the easiest one to ever pass off, was to the title company. Is like, hey, Edco's going to take really good care of you.
Right.
There's nothing I can do now at this point. You know, it would be as silly, and I explained to them, I'm like, it would be as silly as them to be in the car or at the listing appointment. When I came and met with you to sell your house, the title company didn't come with me. There's a reason. There's nothing they can do. Once we get to that point, you've seen the HUD, all the questions have been answered. Let's just go down and sign. You know, I don't need to go down there. There's nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to happen. And when we tell them that, when they get the contract, which we learned, when they get a contract on their house, tell them everything you need to tell them then, because that's when they're the happiest. Ask for the referrals and all that stuff.
Right.
Testimonials. Do it then.
Yeah.
Because even if the deal falls apart or something happens, they'll want to cuss you about it later, and you could have the house sold for full price in one day, and then something happens. You know, you get a squirrely buyer, and the deal's kind of a little screwy. If it ends up closing, it'll be your fault. So ask them at that time. So that's when we tell them, hey, Edco's going to take really good care of you. We're here for you. If you need anything, let us know. But they're going to take the ball from here. We don't go to the closing. And as long as we tell them that, there's never a problem. They're never looking for us. And it keeps me out of, you know, them wanting me to ever do something. You
Right.
know, like we don't get closing gifts. No, we don't do any of those things. So those things to me are silly.
Look,
That's just my opinion.
Yeah. You know, I think if people don't get anything out of this, the one thing they should take away is that, right? Because I'm so glad you said talking or the point at which to ask for testimonies or referrals. I've kind of tried to get to that on the show many, many times with people. I've never gotten a good answer, and that is it. When people get the contract, that's when they're going to be the happiest they're ever going to be.
That's it.
Hit them for the referrals. Hit them for the
Do it.
testimonials.
Hit them for everything.
I love that, man. I love that. So
They'll talk to you forever right then, because they hadn't gotten the inspection back yet.
Right.
Nothing's there to make them mad yet.
Right.
They've agreed on the price. They've sold their house. Ask for everything.
They are pumped. Okay, so listen, if I look at your business, Josh, you and your business are at in a very interesting sort of inflection point. You are turning this now into a real business. What I mean is your job, and everybody's job as an agent, it's lead generation. Now you're going to focus on hiring and then developing that talent. And fundamentally, you're moving from a business where you have to be involved to a company that you can go to Paris and the leads are going to come in. You've hired the right people, and they're going to do it.
And it's funny you should say that. I went there in March and got engaged.
Oh, congratulations. Good for you.
Yes, sir. I was able to do that. So it does work, but it has been a long. It's been a lot of long nights and a lot of days that never end. But.
Yeah. But look, but again, you've done this. I mean, you've built this, the start of this behemoth thing, and it's really only been since 2008. I mean, that's not a very long, you know, from where you started and when you started to now in 2014. You know, you've I guess I would say you built it relatively quickly. Now you're not doing $100 million. You know, a buddy of yours, you know, Mark Gelman. You know, Mark was on the show. You know, he does. You know, he does $97 million. I actually recently had somebody. You know, this guy. Let me look at my calendar real quick. This guy's 32 years old. Started, I think, about the same time you did. He's in a different market, but he's also doing like a $97 million. Adam Hergenrother.
Yes.
You know,
I'll listen to that one.
Oh,
yes,
good.
Yes,
Cool.
yes.
So, okay, we're going to start wrapping up here. Look, you know, I love your background, but I'm going to ask you just a few kind of kooky questions. If you started all over again in 2014, not 2008, what do you think you would do differently?
Well, I would do a geographic farm.
Okay.
I would start there first. I would still go after expireds and for sale by owners because I know they want to sell now, but I would build a geographic farm quicker.
Got it. Okay, cool.
That's right.
Now, and look, do you think you'd be out on the street door knocking, that kind of a farm?
No.
Okay.
No, door knocking takes too long. Because
Yeah.
I can only, that's the same reason I wouldn't work with a buyer. Because I can only work with one buyer at a time. I can only knock on one door at a time, but oddly enough, I could have 100 listings at one time. I still get the buyers anyway if I have the listings, even if another agent brings them.
Right.
And they'll do all the work. They'll schedule the appointments. They'll drive in their car. So it's just a better business plan to have the listings because the buyers are going to call you anyway. You can bring in all the buyer's agents that you want, cost you zero,
Right.
and you're just basically furnishing them in leads from your calls. So definitely go after the sellers. Don't go after the buyers. It's just better use of your money. Later on, if you want to go after the buyers, maybe later, but to spend money on getting listings. And I would use direct mail because it's cheap, or the phone.
Right.
If you're able to get the numbers, it's hard to get a lot of the numbers. So
Well, I mean,
but
you know,
you can get an address.
I'll tell you. So have you used land voice data?
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm using a new one called Leads Today is what I've been using to get phone numbers. It's a new deal that's out.
Yeah. I think so. I'm in San Diego. Are those guys out of San Diego? I recently heard about those guys.
I don't know where they're out of. I've had it for about 6 weeks.
Interesting. And you like it?
So far, so good. We're getting the numbers.
So
that's,
okay. Well, look. So you should put me in touch. Maybe I should have those guys on the show. Really quickly. So give us 2 minutes, Josh. You would establish a farm. Can you give us some bullet points in terms of if somebody says, "Yeah, Josh, I'm going to do that. Where do I start?" Like, can you just give us that roadmap?
Where would I start with a farm?
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's where I would start with a farm.
Okay.
I would not start with an area that you like, that you want as your farm because you like it, or you like the price points, or it's close to your office, or it's close to your house. I would start with at least, and this would be starting out, so I would start with at least 1,000 houses. In a neighborhood or a couple neighborhoods, side by side, however it worked out, that had a minimum of a 6% turnover, and at least 1,000 houses. So I would go back in my MLS and I would say, are there at least 6% of the homes that I'm going to market to selling every year? Because if they are, well, then you have a number of sales to expect that should come out of that area every year. And you could go into one area that you like the price points or you like but nothing sells in there, or very low. It might have like a 2% turnover rate.
Yeah.
Well, if it's 2% turnover rate and you're not going to get, if you could get 30% of the business, that would be incredible, through farming. And that would take a long, long time and you'd have to really know what you were doing. So you're not even going to get that.
Yep.
How many homes are left for you to sell?
Yeah, I agree.
So that's really the number you're after. The ones that sell, you could get a few more listings in there, but they won't all sell. So that's what I would do.
Yeah.
That way you would know your number. How many listings should you expect out of this farm every year? If you're not hitting that number, then you're doing something wrong with your mail. Fix your mail.
Fix your mail. Well, and look, really quick, I asked, somebody came on the show who was a big geo farmer, and I asked him, and we talked about this 6%, 2%. I said, well, what if there is only a 2% turn, but all the houses are $10 million, right? Somewhere in Beverly Hills or something. Is it worth it to even farm that area? And the answer was no. You really need that 6% number, or 5 to 7. Okay, so you find that 1,000 houses, you mail it, you use land voice data, and you call it, and what else should you do would you do anything on social? Would you buy Facebook ads targeting that?
Oh, I don't do any of that. I wouldn't. I don't think I'm qualified to answer that. I don't do anything like that. I just really do direct response marketing. That's, I don't do any. I don't carry business cards. I don't ask my friends, family. No one will ever hear out of my mouth, "Do you know anybody that wants to buy or sell a house?" I've never uttered those words out of my mouth. No one's ever. I've never. People know that if I come around, they're not going to go like, "Oh God, here he comes. Here he comes. He's going to ask me." Nope, never once. People will have to ask me for a card if they want it. Do not carry cards. No. Because I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
See, and it's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's I'm uncomfortable with it, so I don't do it. I only do things I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with people picking up the phone and calling me saying, "Hey, I heard your ad. Will you come over and talk to you about selling my house?" I'm comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable, passing out cards, knocking on doors. See, to me, that's just, I don't know. I don't like that. I like the direct response aspect. See, they're coming to me. So
right.
It's simply returning a call or, they filled out something online and they've asked me to call them. So they're asking me for something, I'm returning the call. But what that does is it puts you in a different spot. Like
Right.
when I'm going after them, I'm chasing the business. When they're coming to me, I'm answering. I'm seen more as a professional. They're more likely to, follow the plan of the program, to go along with our way of doing things. And if they do, like when you get 100 listings, you can't have 100 people wanting to do it 100 different ways.
Right.
Telling you, I'm upset, let's have an open house. No, you can't do it. So you have to lay everything out on the front. We won't do open houses. You won't see any print media. If you need those things, I'm not your guy. But when they call you into the house and you can go and you tell them everything, there's not going to be any surprise down the road. I'll tell you the other thing that I learned, that if I was new, I would do this. I would put anything that you need, I would lay a plan out for all of your listings before they ever list and make them sign off on it and make it part of a listing agreement. That way they can never say they don't know what's going on or this or that, and they need to stick to the plan, however you want to do it. And we also have our price reductions built into our listing agreement so that we don't have to call and ask for them. They're part of our plan.
Interesting.
So they're automatic. Everything's done at the table when they're loving you and they're ready to sign. This way we have permission to go the whole way through from start to finish with whatever it is we lay out for them needs to be done. And if they have any objection to that, then we just simply tell them, well, thank you for your time, but I'm not your guy. And that's the truth. I'm just not their guy. Because then I've got to be on the phone wasting all this time, beating somebody over the head. You really need to reduce the price or whatever it is. I don't want to do that. I'm uncomfortable with that. So I'll just ask them in the beginning and then get them to sign off on it and we can go to town.
Yeah, look, I love it. I love it. I love that, so you're not about chasing them, you're about attracting them. So you're the beast of the honey or whatever. They come to you and you tell them how it is. Now, look, you're uncomfortable. And again, we're going to wrap. Hold on. So we're 47 minutes in. We're going to wrap up here. But so how come you're not uncomfortable? I mean, that most people would find that very, very difficult to say, okay, listen, this is how it's going to work. I'm not going to hold an open house. We're automatically baking in price reductions along the way. I mean, that would be very difficult for most people. How come you're uncomfortable with saying, hey, do you know anybody that's going to buy or sell, but you're not uncomfortable doing the hard thing?
Well, I'm more uncomfortable with, it's not hard to get them to agree to that in the beginning. One, they're sitting at the table, they're listening to everything that you're saying, and they're taking it in. And a lot of them will agree to these things, but if you don't get them in writing, they get selected and amnesia 1 month later down the road.
Oh, yeah.
And they want to, no, not now, let's not just get it in writing, because it's more uncomfortable to me to make that call and spend a day on the phone with all those people.
Right.
Because they want to talk to me. If there's a price for that, they want to talk to me.
Right.
And I hadn't found that person that, so I don't want to spend all day on the phone with them trying to convince them to have a price reduction and playing phone tag with them. If you have 2 or 3 listings, that's okay, but try it with 100.
Right.
Try it with 50. Try it with 30. It's not going to happen. I mean, you're just not going to get it done. Yeah. So you might as well just have a plan laid out. And you know what? It's shocking because no one else has a plan. They have, here's their plan. Their plan, it's back to random acts of marketing, but now you're dealing with their house. And we're going to look at some comps. Here's a number. I'm going to give you a sign and call you in a couple of weeks and see how it's going. And you're dreading making that call in a couple of weeks because it's going to be asking them for a price reduction.
Right.
Or it's going to be something, you're going to say something to them like, well, school's starting back. It's going to slow down. You've told them nothing. And you've asked them for $10,000 and there's nothing. Yeah. And you don't know why. They don't know why. Nobody knows why, but that's how everybody does it. So I guess we'll keep doing it that way because nobody has any kind of plan or process in place. Lay it all out. They'll have more respect for you if you do.
I agree. Look, I think that's the second. I mean, you've given a lot of good advice here, Josh, but I think 2 golden nuggets: when to ask for a testimonial and like get everything laid out and have a plan and make them sign. I love that. Again, you're the first person who's said both those things. So I appreciate you coming on the show. I always ask sort of the last question about a book. Now, I'm going to ask you for a book recommendation. I'm going, because you're a KW person, I'm going to exclude Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So here it is. Here it goes, Josh. I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25. What book should I go buy today?
Well, if you're only going to exclude the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, I would say the one thing, but you're probably going to say that doesn't count either, right? Yeah. Okay, that's a great book.
Okay.
I would read I would get something by Dan Kennedy.
Mm.
If you were going to buy a book, he's a marketing genius. Probably he's got a line of no BS books on direct response marketing. I would pick up one of those, Dan Kennedy's. I've read all of them. I don't remember the exact title. I've read them all. I would read one of those.
You know, it's funny. I've
No
never read one of his books. So can you give us one? Can you think of one that you liked? Give us a name.
Yeah, it's called like the No BS Guide to Direct Response Marketing.
Got it. Okay, cool. Well, if anybody wants a free copy of that, you can use our link or go to audibletrial.com/superagentslive and get a Dan Kennedy book. Hey, Josh, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show and dropping these nuggets, giving our audience a tidbit of how you got so successful. I wish you all the best moving forward. I want to see you get those 200 transactions, 300 and 400, and be able to retire on some Caribbean island and whatever you want to do. So look,
I love the way you think.
Where I know people are going to want to say thank you for coming on the show. Tell us where people can find you. And look, anybody out there, if you are in real estate, if you are talent, you want to join a team, look, he's call Josh. So Josh, where can people find you?
They can find me. They can email me. It's just my name, Josh, JOSHHISAW @KW.com. That's the easiest way. Just send me an email.
Got it. Cool. Hey, and look, I got to tell you something real quick. I'm glad you brought that up. So you're it's really weird. So if I go on mobile, right, I'm on my phone. If I go to your website, Josh Hisaw, it makes Josh. Hold, I'm doing it right now as we speak, live on the radio. JoshHisaw.com on my phone throws me up to a K. Like I have to download the KW app. I can't even see anything. Let me, but if I do,
I don't know why they did that. That's something that just changed. But I'll tell you, if that's on your phone, there's I use this generic. Here's one thing. I don't know if anyone would want to take this or not, but there's a very generic Keller Williams site that we have. It's a template. It's not fancy at all. I've tested other websites and I use that site. And if you've looked at it on a computer, it's very generic.
Mm-hmm.
I pull more people off of that because it's simply my message, and not a whole lot else to do. For free information, click here.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. No matter where you click, it takes you. It's almost like a big squeeze page, but it takes them in. They have to sign up and do something. Those pull far better than anything with all the fancy graphics and all the other stuff. And I don't know why that is. I think the graphics are getting in the way of the message, maybe. I don't know, but that's the only reason why I use that site to this day as my main site.
Well, no, look, I love it, and the deal is this: it's to the point, and you're giving calls to action, right? I'm looking at it right now on my PC. 45 guarantee. Here's 5 more additional points. Click here. Free, no obligation. Click here. And then it goes down. 5,000 buyer savings guarantee. Free, click. And so you have all these calls to action and you load people into your funnel. I think people get too carried away with having listings and inventory and all this crap on their site. Forget that. Get people in the funnel, get their name, get their email address, get their phone number, and now you have a.
Then you can show them all the houses you want.
There you go. All right, Josh. Hey, buddy. Thanks for coming on the show. Let's keep in touch.
Okay. Nice talking to you.
You too, bud. See ya.
Okay.
Let's go. Yeah.